EF Local also says, hey, if a parent, or an employee or even a district resident actually, wants to formally challenge a particular resource, based on appropriateness, there's a process. And so of course, like we talked about earlier, you always want to start informally, right? And so outline similar to what we talked about at FNG. You sit, you talk about it, you try to explain to the person how we pick books, that kind of thing. You try to explain why it got picked. Next. This applies not just to library books, and this is like a classroom set. So for example, at the high school, if there's a book that the whole class is reading, and the parent's like, after hearing everything, I still don't want my kid to read that book. Number 3 says we can offer an alternative book to read, and we've done that in the past sometimes, in my memory we have. And so they read an alternate book that accomplishes the same educational standards. Now, at number 4 is that, so if you've done all that stuff and they still want to complain, they can do, that's FNG, right? This is regular complaint. This is not the other thing.
This leads into a formal
Yeah.
reconsideration.
So that, you could do a formal complaint, like we just talked about that process, a formal grievance, sorry. Now, that's informal. Now, if the person says, yeah, I did all that, I ask you formally to pull this book. There's a formal process, this is in local policy, that they complete a form, they submit it, and we're gonna show you the form in a second. Sorry if that would I'll do that in a second. I can do that right now.
It was linked on that previous slide.
That's the form?
Yes.
Now, as we've mentioned before, so we are a small, lean district, and so we rely heavily on TASB for support and resources. We've never had to deal with a request for reconsideration, ever. I mean, since I've been here, in 21 years. So, when it comes up, so I go to TASB and I say, hey, let me look at what resources you have, and so this is the vanilla form that they provide districts if they want to use it. And so it's essentially, you fill it out, you talk about what you're challenging, you say if you review the resources in the entirety, and it says, if you haven't, please do so before you submit the form. Like, you gotta read the book, it's probably a good idea. And then you list all these other things. You just answer all these questions, and you submit it to the principal.
So,
Yeah.
So if it goes to the principal, maybe Cambridge and Woodridge, one principal then has the ability to impact the decision of the other campus. And I'm thinking more of like electronic books, or are we able to say, oh, this book's available electronically, Cambridge principal said this book is, pull it, so now only the Cambridge kids won't have access to that book?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Because we've never dealt with it before, my guess is we probably catch that and make it a combined committee.
Okay, or I'm thinking even like, at the high school level, if the principal there makes a decision that could impact every campus, is that fair, is that right? So it's something to think about.
That's good.
Sorry, I know we're just going through this.
That's good clarifying.
Now, I'm gonna pull that up just so I have it up. Now, go back to present mode. So then, the complainant turns it in, and our local policy says that the principal shall convene a committee. All the members of the committee shall review the book